Our goal for this video is to review some of the terminology and formatting features of Microsoft Word, and I especially want to spend some time making sure you understand how to use tabs and the ruler. The ruler on a document is this line. It looks like a ruler, and if you don't see the ruler, then you can go to the View menu, hit the View tab, and there's a choice here for ruler. So if I click in this box next to ruler, it took it away. If I click again, it will show the ruler. So that's under the View menu. All right, the first thing I want to do to this document to make it look like a quiz is to give my students more space. So I'm going to go to the Page Layout tab, and on that ribbon, I'm going to find the Margins pull-down menu. And I'm going to choose narrow margins, just a ½ inch on all 4 sides. And you can see it changed the entire document. Then I'm going to take this first line and make it look like a title. So the features about our font are under the Home ribbon. So Home tab, and under this ribbon I might choose to make this a different size. So for example, I might just make it 18, and I might choose B for bold. And then I want to have space for my students to write their name. So many times students will hold down the Shift key, and then they'll just type a number of underlined characters until they've filled the line. Well, here's my problem with that. If I now select this line and say, oh, that's not really the size I wanted, I'm going to make that 22. Now notice what happens is it doesn't fit anymore. So you either have to delete some of your blank line until it fits, but I think there's a more elegant option, and you'll see why I'm going to use it later on. So I'm going to delete these underlined characters, and what I'm going to do here is use the tabs to make this line a little bit nicer. Okay, so I'm going to leave this title that large, but name I'm going to make a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go back to, say, 16 characters. And this word name I might want to be further to the left or the right, so I'm going to put a tab key there. And what I'm going to do is delete and hit tab again so that you see what happens when I hit the tab key. Name jumped over, and it jumps over ½ an inch each time because that's the default tab. But I might for some reason want it to be at 4.2 inches. So then I'm going to have to insert a specific tab. So this is not the normal. This is a tab we're going to use later. Notice every time I click here, it gives me a different icon. These are your different types of tabs. And normally it will look like this left corner, and that's what it's called. It's called a left tab. If you hover over it, your computer will tell you it's a left tab. That would normally be the default. So now watch what happens if I click on the ruler. It put a left tab on the ruler, and sure enough, my name jumped over to where the tab is. Let me drag the tab characters so you see how it works. And I said I wanted it for some reason to be at 4.2. So I put the tab exactly where I want it on the ruler, and I can drag it around. Now, how am I going to get this blank line here? I'm going to click on the ruler to get another tab, and it's whatever is over here. We still have a left tab. So I could use a right tab, but I'm just going to stick with left tab, and that's at 7.4 inches, somewhere like that. And how do I fill in there? I change the type of tab by double-clicking on it. And what I want is, it can stay a left tab, or I could change it to be a right tab. It really won't matter. Oops, except I'm not on the right one here. I better get back and fix. All right, 7.38 is the one I want selected. And it doesn't matter whether it's left or right, but what matters is what leads in front of that tab. So this, and in some software we call it a fill tab. Here it's called a leader. So up to that tab, it's going to lead with this character of underlines. So you could fill in with dots, you could fill in with hyphens, like you might on a table of contents page. But we want to fill in with underlines. So I'm going to hit set. and OK, and it looks like absolutely nothing happened. But because I haven't hit the tab key yet, so if I go behind the E and now I'm going to hit the tab key on the keyboard, and there's my leader tab. And let me drag this around so you believe what's happening here. Wherever I move that tab, it's going to make that line be longer or shorter. And here's the nice thing about it. Watch what happens if I change the font of this line. So I changed to a very small font and it still filled in as much space as we needed. If I go back to a larger font, it still fills in to that tab. So that's called a leader tab. How do I know where my tab keys are? If I hit this button, remember on the ribbon these shortcuts buttons, if I click on this one that looks like a paragraph symbol, it shows the invisible characters. So it shows hides, so if I click on it again, it looks like they go away. Their invisible characters are return keys. Everywhere you see that paragraph icon, that shows me where I had hit a return key. And if it shows you a dot, that's where you've hit the space bar. And where it has an arrow, that shows you where you've hit the tab key. So I can see whether I have tabs in my document or not. You might like keeping those invisible characters turned on. I think they might be distracting to some students, so I'll turn them off for now. This next line, let me hit a return just so we can look at this. If I want to center this line, I think you probably would all say, well, right here is a button that centers the text, and that works fine if you're only centering one subtitle. But let me go back, let me left justify that again, and let me change it here so I have subtitle 1 and subtitle 2. And now watch what we can do with the center tab. And we've got to click here to change it, and the center tab looks like an upside down T. Again, if you hover over it, you'll be able to see. You don't have to memorize everything. It's a center tab. And now I'm going to choose to have centering at, let's say 3.5 inches and then at 6 inches. And nothing happens again because I haven't hit the tab yet. So let me turn on my invisible characters, and right here before the U, let me hit the tab key. And right before subtitle 2, let me hit the tab key. And now you can see what they're doing. Now let me drag this center tab to 2.5. Let me drag this center tab to 5, and you'll see what it's doing. It is centering around that tab. So that's different than a left tab or a right tab. Let me quickly change this one to a right tab so that you see how that would work differently. If I double click on it, this tab at 5 inches, if I want to change it to a right tab and hit set and OK, now you can see, watch what happens when I drag it. So now this is not centered, it ends the right side at that tab. Okay, so if you click, it'll show you that nice vertical line, so you can see that a right tab has it end with the right side. Okay, so left tab, right tab, center tab. All right, let's look at some more uses for tabs. First, I'm going to highlight these questions and show a quick way. Microsoft Word has an auto-numbered list here, so if I click this button, it gives me numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but Microsoft Word always thinks it knows what margins we want, and you might not like those margins. So if I drag this left margin back to 0, and this is my indent, so watch what happens if I drag it over here, or if I drag it back over here. So you can play with those till you get what you want, or you can accept whatever Microsoft Word thought you wanted. Okay, now what I want over here for question 1 is a space for students to circle T or F. So what do I want to do here? Behind this question, I want to hit tab, number 1, tab, capital T, tab, capital F, but that doesn't look like where I would want the students to circle T or F. So I'm going to highlight this line, or get your cursor on that line. And now I'm going to go back to left tabs. So you can just circle around till you get back to a left tab. And now, remember, my tabs are already in there because those arrows show you that I already hit the tab key. But now, where do I want the tab to be? I'm going to choose 6 inches, and then I'm going to choose here for the true column, and I'm going to choose here for the false column. And if you need to adjust it a little bit, you can change that however you want. And let me again turn off those invisible characters, but that looks like where a student might expect the true false to be. Now notice that I want to do the same thing, so I'm going to copy text. Control C copies the text, or you can do it under the edit menu and copy. And question 4 is also true false, so I'm going to click down here and do Control V, the shortcut for paste, but that clearly isn't in the right place. So do I have to repeat all of those tabs? There's a nice shortcut on this line. Instead of copying the text, now let's copy the ruler. Control Shift C will copy a ruler, and then if I go to line 4, Control Shift V will paste the ruler. So holding down 3 keys at once. Control C copies text, Control Shift C copies the ruler. All right, in number 2, I want to hit Tab 2 and Tab. Why do I want to do that? What would that do for me? 2 Tab, because I want to use that leader tab again. So in this line, I'm going to go to 6 and I'm going to put a left tab, and then I'm going to go to the end of the line and I'm going to double click on that tab and make it a leader tab like we did before. Choose this underline and set it. So it's going to lead up to that tab. Oops, I made that mistake before. I did that to the wrong tab. Let's go back into our tab menu. Look at what I did. At 6 inches, I put the leader tab. That's not right. I wanted the leader tab to be at 7.38. That's the one that I should have done for option 4. So go back to tab at 6 and let's say no leader tab. So you can fix that mistake pretty easily. And I hit set and OK, and there's my blank line for a fill-in. And now I can do the same thing we did before. I can copy the text into, let me undo that. Let's see where I wanted to be on line 3. Control V to put in the text, and in line 5, Control V to put in the text. And then I copy the ruler, Control Shift C on line 2, and then Control Shift V, and on line 5, Control Shift V. And then I can just fix my numbering here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we might want to choose to split up those lines. Here's our single, double, triple. So let's triple space our quiz. And very quickly, just one more type of tab. I hardly ever use this, but there is a tab that will line up the decimal point. So let me hit the tab button in front of each of these first. And notice it's the default ½ tab. But now I'm going to do the same. I'm going to highlight all of these lines at once, and I'm going to click around until I see this upside down T with a decimal point, and it's called the decimal tab. And watch what it does. If I put it over here at 3 inches, and I'm going to remove this, put that margin back to 0. Oh, and that took out my tabs, so I got to put my tabs back in. That's Microsoft Word a little bit fussy. I should have noticed that first, but now let me hit my invisible characters. Now what does that tab do? It looks like it's helter-skelter till you realize it lined up the tabs exactly what you think a tab alignment should do. And then I could go to the View menu and I could click here to show one entire page, and you can see everything that we've done.